that food is cool. No secret. Eat that food with a bowl and spoon.
Welcome to With Bowl and Spoon Shorts. This is an edited version of my interview with Aeros and Chris from Who Cooks For You Farm. Enjoy!
Eat that food with a bowl and spoon.
Hello and welcome to With Bowl and Spoon. My guests today are the farmers for Who Cooks For You Farm. You want to introduce yourselves?
I'm Aeros Lillstrom.
I'm Chris Brittenberg. We are the farmers at Who Cooks For You Farm. We are a certified organic vegetable farm, and we have completed this past year our 14th season, so we're rolling into our 15th year, which is pretty exciting. We grow about 40 acres of vegetables and do farmers markets. We have a CSA, and predominantly that makes up our business model there.
We do still do a little bit of wholesale to some old-time customers, some small family-owned restaurants in the area. We were established in 2009. We have two sons, Cedar and Cyan, and we have a staff of about 12 full-time and 7 part-time.
That's a big staff.
We're the Who Crew.
Aeros and I met at the PASA conference.
I was going to guess you guys met at a farming conference.
Yes, Laura, you got it.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing. And we got to know each other, and she said, I have a huge farm back in western Pennsylvania. And I said, really? Let's go check that out.
No, so we started farming on the farm that I grew up on. I mean, we're looking out the window right now of the farm that we're on, and just up the hill, we see that ridge over there is where I grew up, and that's where we started our farm. And
Okay.
so we started just with growing on 1 acre, but the farm I grew up in is 280 acres, but very little of it is tillable. It's not ideal ground for vegetable farming, but we were there for a good, how many years? 7 years, and then we've been here for the remainder.
You know, her father, who had sheep there, that's really all he had. He was really kind of hands off, but just had some sheep. So getting started with vegetables, there was zero infrastructure. You know, that's why we always say, you know, it's first generation farm, vegetable farm, you know, because there wasn't like water lines dug. There was no ground that was tilled, you know, there was no tractor.
Yeah,
there
no
was
business
nothing.
in production.
Nothing,
Yeah.
nothing at all.
I mean, there was not much order and organization other than like us chatting and, oh yeah, let's do this. Oh, that's
We
great.
planned
Let's do
and
that.
organized, but without experience, you know. And
without writing it
without
out,
now
so.
looking at how to manage money and anticipate costs and dealing with like all those things, and then incorporating, you know, your plan, looking down the line. You know, I've been to so many classes where they're talking to beginning farmers and they're saying, these are the things you got to be doing. You got to be looking down the line 4, 5, 6 years. What are your rotations? That is so far over your head until you start to get really seasoned, you know, and you can really feel that flow. It's not just a heady thing anymore. You know, it's like the longer you do this thing, you just get more seasoned. You really feel the transition and when things need to be happening.
We met in February. We tilled ground and put in a cover crop for the fields that we intended to grow in the next season. So we had a beautiful buckwheat cover crop that we tilled under and then put in a winter cover crop. That was 2008 when we met, and then 2009 we actually had our first production year.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Wow.
it was bada boom, bada bang.
We had somebody turning ground over for us, and so we were trying to do everything by hand without petroleum. Okay, and that quickly became not very feasible. You know, we were out there just really resorting to using all manual labor, you know, just whatever strength you can muster. And one of our neighbors came over one day and on a 4-wheeler, and we were taking up straw bales up the hill. It's on a hill.
On a wagon.
On a hand wagon. So she's pulling it and I'm pushing it. And it's hard. She goes, what are you doing? I was like, we're just getting these up there. She's like, throw those things on the back and boom, boom, boom. And we're like, wow, you know. And it's not like, we were just so focused on our intention, which was to try to not use much petroleum. But that quickly went away to more prioritize feeding more and more and more people with the same quality produce. And that required petroleum.
We had 2 markets in Pittsburgh. We sold in the north side and we sold at East Liberty. And we just did those 2 markets our first
2 of the
year.
primo markets.
Yeah.
At the time.
Yeah, they were great.
Somehow we slipped in there. I think Blackberry Meadows had done the year before and dropped out of East Liberty, and we just happened to apply at that point. We're like, oh, come right in.
Yeah, and we took their organic spot. That was like they were the organic vendor there before.
And we grew a little bit of everything. You know, broccoli, we tried. We were so excited. Oh my gosh. But it was everything that we possibly could, you know, sugar snap peas, and always those, sometimes, depending, you know, how the land is managed before you till it. This was fertilized for 20 years with sheep manure and fallow. So when we turned that over and kind of got the biology activated, I mean, the yields were insane. Some of those yields I still remember, you know, the sugar snap peas and stuff.
Yeah, so many.
So how did you come up with the name?
Who Cooks For You Farm? We were chatting in the car about a name. We were on a drive to Pittsburgh, I believe, and we were talking about having a bird in the title because Chris is a birder, and he was teaching me all this stuff. I didn't really know. I mean, I knew some, but I didn't know their names and the calls that went along with them. So he was in the midst of, we were in the thralls of learning. I was learning all the calls, and we were talking through the calls. And like, let's not necessarily have a name in the title, but let's have a call in the title. And so
because they're associated, you know, with a phrase or something like that.
Yeah, so we were going through these, like, oh, how about drink your tea? I was like, oh no, okay. How about what's this? And like, how about who cooks for you? And I was like, oh my God, that's great. And then a lot of people ask us, hey, do you cook for me? And we're like, we don't cook for you. You cook for yourself. It's just a good question to ask yourself. Who cooks for you?
No, setting prices and like what to charge for something and what makes sense. I mean, that's a great thing to talk about because, you know, usually you're just jumping off of what everybody else is doing at first. If you're looking at your numbers well, then you can sort of justify maybe charging certain prices, but then you also have to understand the consequences of changing that price. If you want to make a certain amount of money on head lettuce, okay, and then just be prepared for the consequences. If it's, you know, a little more affordable than everybody else is at market, that word gets around quick and you're going to sell out all the time. But then you're going to think, well, I could throw a quarter on there and make a little more and be more competitive with everybody else. You know, we're told all the time, the conventional growers in there are charging more for something than you are. And it's like, okay, I mean, for me, that's okay. But like at this point, we are at the point that I don't necessarily look at other farmers and say, oh, if they're doing that, then we should. Just not there anymore. You know, I feel like we're very content and I feel like we're very stable. And a lot of that comes from being able to actually see that you're making some money.
How have the hoop houses helped you guys?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the hoop houses are really valuable real estate. Obviously, there's a lot of investment that goes into the construction of it all. And just to start with this, there is a sort of a weird sour sort of flavor in everybody's mouths when they think of a hot house or a hoop house, and that something's coming out of there. They think it's somehow artificial or hydroponic or something. But the reality is that you're growing these things in the ground. The biology in the ground has to be right so that the plant can grow. So it's living soil. Okay, you know, we have 2 layers of plastic over steel arches. And that's it. So we're just able to control water. That's really what it allows us to do, is to keep leaves dry.
And these 2 tunnels that you're looking at here are our latest tunnels. And, you know, we really went and invested in having like roll-up sides that are automated. And we have ventilation that is automated. We have 5 tunnels up on the ridge that you can sort of see through the tree line up there. Those are where we started, and they have none of those bells and whistles, and that means that you're running out midday. Oh, it's too hot in there, we got to roll up the sides, even though it was super foggy and chilly in the morning. You know, it's 80 in there now, run. You know, we don't want to lose blossoms. We've come to a point where, okay, these are very, very big houses. The automation, yeah, having these steps in place has made the plants healthier.
But the soil in the hoop houses, we cater to that soil so much. In terms of the bacteria and the biology that's going into that soil there. We are constantly inoculating the soil with like, you know, these blends of bacteria and then trying to, you know, feed those bacteria slowly, you know, throughout the season. whether it's we're putting fish through the drip or even foliar feeding, things like, sugar, magnesium sulfates, all these trace minerals, and all that's doing is you're spraying this plant, and it engages the root system to bring in more that is down there. It's not like you're just spraying on the leaves and just absorbs in the leaves and that's it. It's like it just stimulates the entire system.
And you guys are certified organic.
Yeah.
So how did you make the decision to go certified organic? Because I know there's a lot of record keeping and process that needs to be done for that, and it's costly.
Yeah. Well, we've been through all the stages. We've grown organically all along since we started. And at first, certification wasn't something we were really worried about because we couldn't afford any level of more work. And then we became certified naturally grown because we're like, well, it just didn't make sense for us to jump through hoops with selling direct to our consumer because we knew everyone we were selling to. We could talk to them about it. And so certified naturally grown for like 7 years, I think, on the old farm. And then when we came here, after a couple years being here on this new property, we became certified organic. Because we were selling to more restaurants and doing some wholesale, we weren't in touch necessarily directly with our customers anymore. We're selling to the East End Food Co-op. So that meant a lot. That certification means a lot to people. If they don't talk to you, they know, okay, well, that certification is true. And we believe that. And it's also just helped us become better farmers from the record keeping. We've learned a lot from it. We continue to learn from it. It keeps us on our toes as to just knowing our checks and balances and be able to do recalls. It's been valuable, and we believe in the certification because we're joining the masses of people who really care on a business level about being certified, about growing organically. So we're just really elevating our business to that level of maturity.
Are there crops because of climate change that you're like, we might be able to grow that now?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. Well, we grew sweet potatoes, years ago, and we had a good year. It was a hot summer. And then the 3 years following, we had a crop failure every year because it was just a little cool. It was a cooler summer. We're growing them again now, and we're just having, blockbuster yields. It's insane.
Would you recommend farming for people as a career choice?
Yeah, it's great. Yeah. You have to want to work. Hands down, it has to be someone who's passionate about the labor and hours that go into running your own business. First off, anyone who owns a business knows that there's overtime,
Farming's a gamble.
Yeah, it is a gamble when it comes to working with Mother Nature.
That is that's hard to get used to. It's just knowing that a huge investment that you have out in the field right there, you could totally lose it. And that's where, I always reflect on the humble farmer, everybody says, oh, the humble farmer. No, the humble farmer he's humbled out because he's just eating shit. So many times he's had good success, but he's also very accustomed to loss. Every single year we lose things, every single year, no matter what we try. And that's part of this work. That's why it's really hard for some people, and people get really upset about that stuff, and we all did, and I still do, but I just know that we're going to roll right into the next crop, and you just kind of take it.
It's definitely a lifestyle, but it is a career that has great opportunity.
There's a big elephant in the room, though, I think, which is that you can grow food. You can say, okay, I'm willing to not have a fixed schedule. I will work early until late. I will work in the rain. I will work in the sun, whatever it is, the cold. I'm willing to do all those things. I can grow really good crops. And now where do I sell it? And I think that's the biggie. And I think that's a lot of the reason why we see a steady decline. I think that if the money was there at the outset, it kind of ties into like the respect thing a little bit. But if you were able to generate really nice income, how many of those kids would have left that farm and then gone and worked somewhere else and make, pennies working for somebody else? They could have been working with their pops. I will say two things. First thing is I think farming can be extremely lucrative. The other thing, I think that, in terms of our customers, we feel very, very well respected. This is a job that I cannot even imagine somebody else having a job where you are thanked so much for what you do. we get that so much. And I'm not just saying it's because like we're special as, you know, as like we're like different from other farmers. I'm sure everybody else gets the same gratitude, but it is overwhelming. And I think the more that people get educated about food and the differences in value, where you're buying your food from, and just how empowering it is to like know people that grow food. But I think it's a great time and a good opportunity for new farmers to come into the market right now, because there's a lot of people that want to buy good food. A lot.
Yeah, I feel like since 2020, it's been really beautiful to see the reinvigoration of people cooking food for themselves. It's really nice to have a customer ask questions. What's this? How can I do that? And just see new regulars coming, and like all because of COVID. You know, people were forced into their home to do something they hadn't really thought, okay, yeah, I cook my dinner every once in a while, but really like, wow, okay, food is necessary. This is the one thing I have to go out and get: toilet paper, food, maybe some medicine, you know, so it's like, what are the essentials here? And with that resurgence of customers, our farmers markets really came alive. It brought a new life to farmers markets after 2020. And in the sense of that realm, and yet it's not like every neighborhood could have a farmer's market. We've been asked to go to more markets. Farmers can only go to so many markets. So yeah, more farmers to make more markets. You know, that would make sense to me. Like, we can only do so many because our truck is moving 6 days a week. I think we need that one day off. And if more people want more markets, then we need more farmers.
I mean, you guys aren't like taking elaborate vacations, and you're not swimming in jewels, and you don't have big fancy cars. So I think, you know, expectations should be limited a little bit when you're like, it's very lucrative. Right?
Oh yeah.
So that
you
should
don't
be
start
part
that
of
way.
like, you have to want to live the lifestyle. And so there are a lot of things that instead of like, look, isn't this cool? It's not a 9 to 5. So
Yeah.
I think all that needs to be incorporated into that.
Well, yeah, but
No, but
when Chris is saying it's lucrative, we're into our 15 year. It does take a lot of time to get to the lucrative point. Like this last year, we were able to really like, wow, let's make our house safer and better for us, you know, like renovate it, redo the electric, and like make a kitchen that is really us, you know, like knock out a wall, put some windows in, and now we have a huge counter to do what we do and cook what we cook, and have, you know, like a home for our family that's beautiful and not just run down. And, you know, and because it's like we bought a 100-year-old farmhouse that, and that's what anyone would come to if they're starting a new farm. I mean, you're going to get a place that's old and not a lot of money put into it, or if they did, it was 30 years ago, you know. So I feel like it's all in time, but I mean, it is like, we're not driving Mercedes, but I know farmers that drive Mercedes, you know, it can happen, you know, in years and years that you end up, you know, with a nest, and that's what you've worked for. You know, you work to make an awesome nest, you know, and I think that is where the liquidity comes with a lot of time and investment. I mean, when we retire, I mean, who knows if hopefully our children will want to farm. We're not sure if they will. I mean, if they do, they have an amazing nest to start with. Like we have built so much. We're trying to convince them that like, wow, you have a really great job here. Like I'd like to work for gold. I only wish that my parents had a farm that I could just hop right on. Oh my gosh. And
But and I do mean that farming can be very lucrative. You know, it just, you have to be very thoughtful, but it doesn't start right at the outset. You know, like somebody said to me not so long ago, at what point did you start to think that you were going to quit?
And we both said never.
Never. I never, ever, ever thought one time that I was going to quit. That I was ever going to give up. Never once. I never thought that was an option, because kind of like what I said at the very beginning, my option was either I was going to grow good food or teach people about nature. But once I started growing good food, I was addicted. I was locked in. Even though it's challenging, it's hard, sometimes it's too much.
What are you guys excited about for this coming year?
Following the biology, following the energy from the ground to the plant to the fruit to the person, you know, like being able to see that clear is so interesting to me. It just feels so rewarding, and I'm excited to share as much of that information as I possibly can, you know, just to let people know like kind of what's happening. You know, it gets pretty dorky, but it's, if you think about at the end of it all that you're better for it, it's like, why wouldn't you want to know more about that? You're doing these things every day. You're taking that tomato, you're taking a bite, you're eating the onions, you're doing the lettuce, all these things. And to be able to know a little more about that information, I feel like is really good. And for us, I feel like it's good for our image. You know, I'd like to be able to share information with folks, and I want to get people pumped about our food.
Yeah, we're definitely
Really like
dorking
that.
out on the biology right now. We're
that's
really geeking out on it, and it's exciting to both of us. And we were talking the other day, like, wow, it'd be really a bummer if you weren't into this as well, you know, because we were both like being fed off of it, and then hey, did you see this? And did you read this? And you know, so it's really exciting to do that, to do the actual be a part of the experiment. And we're working on our signage to be better at market, you know, just to be, and our website to be more educational. It really feels valuable that to see that we're learning, and as we're learning, we hope to educate. You know, basically that's the goal, to educate more and more our customers on, you know, what it is the food is, how to put it in your refrigerator. Like some people don't even know, put it in a bag. Okay, this vegetable goes in a bag. This one goes on the counter. Because it's simple stuff that can make the great food last longer so that you have time to eat it. So it's just the simple stuff, but it also, okay, what's a probiotic? What vegetable is a probiotic? What, you know, so all these things that we can learn and hopefully pass on so that we can all be healthier. Like that's just...
And we might have a fair.
Exciting. Yeah, we might have a fair, have a little festival.
Like
or
a fall fair
little...
like everybody's doing, with pumpkins and food trucks and some music and some cool things for kids.
Well, Chris, Aeros, thank you so much for your time and for showing me your beautiful farm.
You're welcome. Thank you,
Yeah,
Shelly.
thanks for coming out.
With Bowl and Spoon is written, produced and hosted by Shelley Danko Day. Copy editing by Carolyn Ristow of Details Review. Original theme song was written and performed by Paul LeBreeze and friends. You can listen to With Bowl and Spoon wherever you get your podcast. Don't forget to subscribe, like, review and share. Follow us and send us questions or messages on Facebook and Instagram at With Bowl and Spoon. Thanks for listening.